Yeah, good morning everyone. So last session we learnt about how to add components into Angular. We discussed about what is component and how to add components. We learned adding components using two techniques we learned. What are the two techniques? So one is inline and code behind. Inline means everything is present in one file. Code behind, CSS, HTML, logic, all are separate. What is the advantage of code behind, inline, differences we learned. One more, we discussed how to enable Bootstrap so that we can easily apply effects and make the presentation more effective. Now here I am not teaching any Bootstrap. I will just use that. You have to learn by yourself all that Bootstrap, HTML, CSS things. Here we will use that Bootstrap and we will apply. Already yesterday we learned how to install, how to enable. Now we will see one more option. Yesterday what we done is, we learned adding components manually. There is another technique actually. You can add components using CLI commands. You can add components using CLI commands. That means we can use Angular CLI commands and add components. So what is advantage of these CLI commands? You just tell the command, it will generate everything for you. Manually means we have to create files. We have to write the logic of component in that file. After that we have to register the component in app module. But what is advantage of CLI commands? They will automatically manage everything. You just run one command, they will generate everything for you. So what are the CLI commands? Actually, we can run the CLI commands like this. Where to run these commands? You have to open the terminal where you want the component. That means first you have to open the location where you want to add component. You have to open the location in terminal. In terminal where you want to add the component. That means you have to open your location, means in your project location, anywhere it may be, where you want to add the component. There you have to run the command ng generate component, and you can define component name. Automatically it will generate component for you. You can just use shortcut also. You can write ng-gc. G for generate, C for component, and component name. It will automatically generate component for you. So it is shortcut for creating components. So you don't need to manually add the components. We can simply add components using command. But actually the command have a lot of options also, like you can use the following flags for command. We have some important flags. One is we can use hyphen. So that means we can use hyphen. That is the flag reference actually, hyphen. We can put as inline style. We can set as true. inline style true means it will not generate CSS file. That means generally when you run this command, how many files will be generated? Four files will generate. It will generate HTML, CSS, .ts, .spec.ts. Spec.ts is a testing file that is used by testing people to test our component. That is also generated. For every component it is generated. Now when I use inline style true, what will happen is inline style true means CSS file will not be generated. That means we are planning for styles inside the TS itself. Already I told now we have inline technique. Inline technique means you can write styles inside the file or you can write in a separate CSS file. If you are planning for writing the style inside, then you have to use inline style. Similarly, you can use inline template. Inline template equal to true. What inline template will do? It will not generate HTML file. So you can use here so skip test. What it will do? Skip test equal to true. Even if you don't give true, directly default it will take true. Skip test true will not generate test file. Test file will not be generated. So TS file is compulsory. CSS file is optional. HTML file is optional. And this test file is optional. And one more option is we can use dry run. Dry run means it will not run command, execute command. It will not execute command really. That means you can say it will not execute command and affect your app. It will just show preview. That means as a developer, before adding anything into project, you have to know where it is going to affect, what is going to create, where it is going to affect. Without knowing this basic, you add something into project and it will lead to lot of problems. So every developer, before adding anything into project, he need to make sure that that new thing he is adding will not lead to any catastrophic failures. Catastrophic failures means sudden failures. That means application is working fine and you added something, due to that some errors came. That means you have to make sure what you are adding, what it is going to generate, and where it is going to affect. After knowing that, you can generate it. That means what dry run will do is, whatever commands you are executing, it will not really execute them. It will just show you preview. It will tell that I am going to do this. Do you like to continue? Then remove dry run and run. Dry run means it is trial run. It is not really running. It is just showing us preview. See now here how to use these flags. Suppose I don't want, I want only inline file. I don't want HTML, I don't want test file, I don't want CSS. Then you can write like this. ng generate component home. You can write here skip test. That means it will remove the test file. You can write inline style. It will remove the CSS. You can write inline template. It will remove the HTML. You don't need to write equal to true. Actually, it is equal to true. You don't need to write. It will take default true. It will take default true. That means now how many files will be generated? Only one file will be generated. What is that file? TS. So test file will not be generated. Styles will not be generated. Template will not be generated. You can see here, you can see where to generate your component. First open that location. Yesterday we created a folder in app. Am I right? Yesterday we created a folder in app. What is that folder? Components. I want all my components in that folder. What I will do? So open the components in integrated terminal. Right click, open in integrated terminal. Open in integrated terminal means it will open here. Understood? It will open that location in the terminal. This is the location in terminal. In this location, we have to run ng generate component. Suppose I given the name as register, and I will use dry run. If I don't use dry run, that register component is created. I am using dry run as a flag and enter. You can see it will show what it is going to generate. It will display what it is going to generate. You see now. What is going to generate, it will display the preview for you. You can see that it is generated, and see it is showing that 4 files are created. HTML file, spec.ts file, TS file, CSS file. And see, it says that dry run means no changes were made. That means it is not creating. It is just showing that I will do this. If you like to do this, then run this command again without dry run. Then it will create all of them. Now see here, it is creating 4 files and updating 1 file. Which file it is updating? Means what? It is creating your component and registering it in app module. That's good. Earlier what we have to do, we have to create and we have to register. Every component that we created, we have to register. Now it will create and it will register. That's good. But see, in the components, there is no register. Why? Because we use dry run. Dry run means it will not create. It will just show you preview. All commands are like that. You can try them. See now here, I am using ng generate component register. I will use inline styles. And I will use dry run. Now see, inline styles means what should happen? Inline style. Inline style. Inline style means what should happen? It should not generate the CSS file. You see, CSS file is not generated. Only HTML, TS and test file. I don't want the HTML file. Then ng generate component. What is it? Register. We have to use skip test. Test file will not be generated. We will use inline style. We will use inline template, and we will use dry run. All the commands we are combining. Then it have to generate only 1 file for us. And you can see it is creating only 1 file. It is creating only 1 file and it is updating in this app module. So these are all CLI commands actually. Now we have to use these CLI commands and create our components easier and faster. But what is problem in these CLI commands is it will generate everything for you. That means it will generate so many things which are not necessary for you. Then that is waste of time and space. That means compiling time will be more. It is not required. Why you are using it? That means manually adding is adding only what you need, but automatically generating, it will add something extra which is not required for you. In every situation you don't need that. In that case, that is not good. We will add manually. There is nothing like which one is best, right? If whatever it added you are going to use it, then do it. Otherwise you can add manually. So even if it is adding something which is not necessary for you, you can delete them. It's your wish. Because these templates you can customize according to your requirement. So what we will do now, let's see how to create a component. So I will create one component called register. So, and how to create the component, ng generate component register. And I don't want test file. Then I will use skip test. I am not using dry run. That means it is going to really create. Okay, enter. Now this command is going to really create the register component. And in that 3 files are there, HTML, TS, CSS, and it is having one update also. And let's go to the components and see. In the components you see register is added for you. And see, it added a folder for you. Observe, it added 3 files inside it for you. It added those 3 files inside it for you. And observe, in the TS file already code is generated. And this code we were writing yesterday manually now. It's okay, you write, it generated, doesn't matter. But here it has a lot of extra things. What it is doing, it is implementing some on init. It is having a constructor. That what is on init you will learn later. That is actually related to component life cycle. We have a component life cycle. It is related to that life cycle. So later we will learn about that. As of now, it will not have any problem for you. What you do, just use this area. You put your code and everything inside it. So don't worry about what is on in it. We will learn later. Right? Actually on in it is nothing but it defines the actions to perform when component is loaded successfully. Initialization. That means on component initialization, if you want any actions to perform, just like in your HTML have body load. Body load means on page load, you want to do some actions to perform, then you write on body load. Same here on init. Right? Now you can leave it. You can just add whatever you want in this class file. And observe carefully, HTML is having just paragraph. You have to change according to your requirements. CSS is empty. Only the TS file contains the basic logic. And observe carefully, when we go to app module, in app module also, register component is registered. Yesterday we done these two manually, but this is automatically done. Only in Bootstrap you have to change. In Bootstrap you have to set. So which one you want? Login, I want to set with login or with register. You have to change 2 locations, you know. Bootstrap you have to change and index you have to change. In Bootstrap we have to change to register. In index also register. How to access the register? You see, you can see it's a selector. It is app register. As per the traditions, everything will be created for you. So generally developers, once they are aware of how the component is created, what it contains, they don't waste time. They will just use these CLI commands and generate the components. so that they can easily, fastly work with the interface. Okay. So this is all how commands are used. These are the CLI commands. So we can add components manually, or we can add components by using CLI commands. Right. Now, once we know this, let's create one example. We will create one example like some Netflix page with components. We will try to create a Netflix page with component. We will try to create one example. You first observe and first you decide how to design, right? Then you can design. See, open this Netflix page. This is the Netflix page. And in this Netflix page, you have a background. We have a background photo. And we have, that is background photo. In that background photo, there is some dominated background color. Photo is not dominating, color is only dominating. Photo is very light. We need to design like that. And on that background, you have a header. Header contains Netflix, and right side you have a drop down. But you can't design such a drop downs, because for that you need to learn Bootstrap. Actually, it is Bootstrap drop down. You can create your HTML drop down, because difference is HTML drop down will not allow symbols, icons. Bootstrap drop down only allow icons. HTML drop down will not allow icons. Right? You have to design through Bootstrap, and Bootstrap requires not only CSS, jQuery also. To design a Bootstrap drop down, you need jQuery also. Right? As of now, this is design we will create. And see, this is the main component. In the main component, you see there is a register option. We will try to design up to this. Later, you can continue with other design, right? We will first try to create this screen, how we can design. And in this, how many components are there, I will explain. In this, how many components are there? Let's see. Actually, in this, we have one main component here. This is Netflix index component. Netflix index component. Okay, this is Netflix index component. In this Netflix index component, what it is having is, this index component is having, we need to design this index component with the background image and color. We have to design the index component with the background image and color. On that means inside this index component, remember inside that component we have a header. Inside index, we have header component. This is actually Netflix header component. So we have a Netflix header component. In this header component, we have drop downs, buttons and all. Below that header, we have another component. Below the header, we have another component. This is Netflix main component actually. This is the Netflix main component. In this Netflix main component, they given some sentences like unlimited movies and TV shows and all these things they have mentioned. And in the main component, remember, inside main component, they have a register component. They have a Netflix register component. This is the hierarchy actually. Netflix register component. Now, where do I want register component? Inside main. And where the main comes? Inside index. So inside the index, we have header and we have main. So inside main, again we have register. Actually, this is the hierarchy of that website. You open several websites and options here. Suppose all are component based. Suppose you see Instagram. You have Instagram. This is Instagram. This Instagram is also component based. This is also component based. It is also component based. Actually, it is designed in React.js. It is designed in React.js. Netflix, Amazon, Instagram, these are products of React.js. They are done in React.js, but they are component based. Here you can see component based means you can design in your Angular in the same with more effective functionality also in the backend, because React is related to only UI interface, right? So here you see left side, some pictures are changing. What is it actually? That is carousel. Carousel have a fading effect. Not only sliding, carousels have fading effects also. That is a carousel left side in the mobile. Right side you have a login component. This is actually login component. And you have a footer component. At the bottom you have a footer component. So carousel, login, footer. Everything is component based. Let's design this and see how to handle. This is the hierarchy we have to create. So how many components we need? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 components we need. Which component to start with? Netflix index. That is the start with. Okay, let's do this. Let's go first. And what I will do is in app folder, because components must be added in app folder. In app folder, I will maintain a separate folder called Netflix website. I will create a folder called Netflix website. Now in this, add all the 4 components. Right click, open in terminal. You can see Netflix website opens in terminal. And here we have to run the commands. Fastly we can add through commands. How many? ng generate component. What is the first one? Netflix index. Okay, skip test. For all of them, test file we will not generate. It is not required for us. Netflix index. Okay. That is one component. Next what? You can use up and down arrows to repeat those commands and make changes. Next one is what? Netflix header na? Yeah, we need Netflix header. Okay. Another component generated, Netflix header. Next, Netflix what? Main. Netflix main. Okay. Netflix main. And one more. What is it? Netflix register. Okay. 4 components we added. So we are adding all the 4 components. So Netflix index, Netflix main, Netflix register, Netflix header. Which one to start with? Netflix index. So where to set it? Go to app module. We have to start with Netflix index component. And in index.html also we have to keep Netflix index. Our application will start with Netflix index. Okay, right. Now start the project here. ng serve project is equal to shopping something. Okay, meanwhile we will design which page will come. Netflix index will come. We will go to Netflix index page. Netflix index HTML. This is Netflix index HTML. Here we want to put a background image. Here we need to put a background image. So I will put a div. I will put a main container. And for this container, I will put a class. Actually, here I will simply put a class called, I will use the class name as background image. Background image, a BG image is the class. That is the class. Okay. That is a CSS class. And I need to put a background image in it. Background image. Now where to have the images? First, you have to keep all your images in one location. I told you in project there is a assets folder. Am I right? So go to assets folder. I told you images, text files, all are kept in which location? Assets. So if you ask like, can't we put in any another location? You can put in any another location, but that is not directly accessible. You have to set the path in your Angular JSON file. In Angular JSON, you have to tell from where to pick up the files. Actually, default path for static file is set to assets. That is the reason you have to keep in assets only. If you want to put in any another location, you have to change that in Angular JSON. You see, there is a file called angular.json. In Angular JSON, you can observe here, our project related lot of settings came here. And you can see here in this, where is that assets? You see, assets path is our projects in that shopping, in that SRC, in that what? Assets. If you want a different folder, add a folder and change its path. So you have to tell from where to pick up the files, right? That you have to do. By default, it is set to assets. So what you do is open this assets folder in File Explorer. You open that assets folder. Currently it is empty. Nothing is there. What we will do? We will copy some image. You can download any background image of Netflix website. Online you will get so many. I already have some. I will use it. Yeah, I have a image here, public assets. Yeah, some Netflix back image is there. I will copy that and I will put it here, and it is a PNG file. You can see this properties. In the properties, you can see it is a PNG file. Okay, okay. Now let's go here, close. We copied that into our project. We copied that into our project. So that what is our project? In eDrive, what is it? Workspace Angular. In that projects, in that shopping, in that SRC, assets, and we have that file. We copied that into that assets folder. Okay. Now let's see here. Initially, is it successfully compiled? Compiled. Let's run this and see now. Localhost 4200. Currently it is empty because nothing is there in the index page. It is empty. Let's put image. How? We can go to CSS file. In the CSS file, we have to access this class. What is it? BG image. .bg image. We will put background image. In CSS, we can put background image URL. URL is coming from where? Assets. In the assets, what is it? Netflix back dot what? PNG. I am applying that. And usually what happens, it will apply that image in the background here. So we will use assets directly here. And you can see some problem in this. Yeah. Netflix/assets, Netflix back, spelling, capitalization, everything you have to check. In assets, Netflix back .png. BG image only na, right? Yeah. Netflix back.png. It is there. Only the problem is height is not there. There is no content inside it. It is there. Image is there. Content is not there inside it. We will put height. How much height you want for your background, that container? I will put height as 768 pixels. That is the default height for pages, web pages default height. You can put that. Now you can see background image is there. We have to keep the height for that. We will get a background image. Actually, this is the original background size. Original background size. We have a background image here. Now what we want here, that is the background image defined. From assets, we are accessing that and displaying. But this background image should not dominate. Actually, it is dominating. It should not dominate. Then we have one trick to do. What is the trick? You can't give opacity. Transparency is there in CSS, but you put opacity means entire page will be opacity, not only background. That is the reason what we do is, in this container, we will put another container called box. I will put a box, class box. I will use here the class as what? Box. Box background color, suppose I am using black. And box also have height, 768 pixels we have. And you can see background black will come. But background black should not dominate. We have to see through that color and see the background picture. Then you have learnt in CSS, you can apply color RGBA. Red, green, blue, alpha. That is transparent. In CSS, how many ways you can put colors? Color name, color hexacode, color RGB, RGBA, HSL, HSLA. These are the 6 type of techniques of applying colors in HTML. In HTML only 2. You can use color name or you can use color hexacode. In CSS, there are 6 ways of writing the colors, right? And here RGBA, red, green, blue, and every color value will be 0 to 255. Alpha value will be from 0 to 1. That means 0, 0, 0, it is black color. Red, green, blue are 0, then it is black color. And 0.5, that is transparency. How much black transparent you want. It will be like this now. That means we have background, we are not dominating. You can put more, so 7. Then it is more darker. It is more darker. That means the image is not dominating. Image is not dominating. Image is there, but it is not dominating. Suppose I say 9, then it is more darker. Right? We can change that. We can change. I will just keep 7. That looks okay. Or I will put 6. That looks okay. This is the background we are having. Now that is the background ready. Background index is ready. Okay. Next what we have to do. Background index is ready now. We have image and color. Now we have to design header. Okay. Let's go to separate header component is there. Netflix header. Okay. HTML. Here we have to design the header. So let's keep a div. Div is a container. So in this container, what we will do, we need 2 areas. One div. In this area, I will keep Netflix. Okay. And I will put a class here. Class here as brand. Brand is nothing but company names. Company names are referred as brand. Okay. And we will put here another div. In this div, we will put a drop down. I will put a select. I will put a select. Select will usually have an option called language. Beside that, I will put a button. Button, there is an option called sign in. Sign in. And this button will have a class BTN, BTN danger. That is the button style. Still it is not done. Lot of work is that. Now I have to use this header. I have to use this header inside index na. I have to access this header inside index. So let's go to your index component. In the box at the top, we will access the header component. How to access header component? App Netflix header. Understood? In a component, you can access another component. Anywhere to access a component, you need its selector name. So then you can see that header component comes here. Header component comes here. But in this, you see there is a Netflix word also. Effect is not ready. Effects you will do. We have to go to header component. In header component, this is brand, am I right? And this I will give as class as, so navigation. This is the navigation. I'm just giving simple navigation. Okay. Go to its CSS file. Netflix header CSS file. Dot navigation. Okay. Navigation. That is one class. What is another class? We have another class called brand. Right? For this brand, I will give font size as 30 pixel. Font weight as bold. And I will give font color as red. These are the effects for the brand. That means now you see the brand will be like this. We have Netflix here. And this is here below. But what we want to do is this nav bar, this navigation, have to keep these two side by side. Then what we will do is the navigation we will keep as display flex. Display flex. That means it will keep the content side by side. And here we have two containers. You see, one container is heading, another container is this. Now what you can do is, you can say justify content between. Justify content between. Justify content, I will give space between. Justify content space between. You can see like this it will come. One is left, another one is right. And what I will do here, I will use a little bit padding. Padding as 30 pixel. Padding will give some space around. And for example, you see here, this is drop down. Drop down, for drop down usually we have a class called form select. I will use that, then it will come in next line. But I want to keep these two side by side. Usually we use a class called input group. Input group class will keep that side by side. So, but it is very lengthy. So generally what we do is we don't use the form class name. And you can see it will display like this. And very important, in order to give input group, don't directly give them. Because it is another container. You have to keep these two in one container again. And there we have to apply the class. What is it? Input group. Input group. Then it will keep like this. I want to separate. If you want separate, don't use input group. But if you don't use input group, what will happen? You observe here. I am not using input group, then like this it will come. And I am using a class called, what is it? Form select. It is for drop down. Then it will come next line. How to keep side by side? Actually, to keep side by side, we have a lot of options. Suppose I am using deflex. Understood? Deflex means display flex, side by side. I want some gap between them. Then what we do for drop down, we can give margin end as 3. Margin end 3. Some space will come. Now the header is ready. We have the header ready. Right? Now we have the header. Actually this drop down, it is having some language. So what is that language? We have like option English. Okay. And we have some option. Actually what you can do is you can use Google Translate. You can use Google Translate. In this Google Translate, you can select here language English and translate to Hindi. I am selecting. Here I am typing Hindi and it will get that Hindi word. That means you can copy this now. And what you can do is you can keep that paste here. Right? We can paste that language there and it will come here. That means we have the drop down configured here. You can't put those symbol globe because that is to be designed by using Bootstrap. Through Bootstrap you can design such. Right? You can't do like this. Actually, later suppose I will put a span here, class BI and BI globe I'm using here, and there will be some globe option displayed there. So, and one more is, suppose I say text white like this, we are adding some globe is there. But it is not designed like that. It is designed inside the drop down, and that is not possible with general HTML drop downs. We have to do that by using Bootstrap, and Bootstrap requires again jQuery. Right? Just you can try this up to now. Okay. Next, we want something in the main area below. That means as per the design, so index is ready, header is ready. Now we need a main component, right? Let's see what is there in main component. Open their website. In the main component, it is having this paragraph. Am I right? Remember, the below line ready to watch and get started. This is register. Because you can observe that is repeated again. That is not under main. That is in a register. So we will first design the register. Okay, let's go. First design the main. Let's go into the components and Netflix main. Okay. In the Netflix main, I will just put a container. I will put a container, or you can design like main because you have HTML also main. And in the main, we put some paragraph. And this I given as heading 1. And this I given as heading 2. So as some heading 2 or some heading 2. Okay. Like this I am adding. Now actually this is the main, and where to display the main? We have to display the main below the header. Below the header we have to display the main. Where? That means in the index. Let's go to index, Netflix index. In the Netflix index below the header we have to keep which one? App Netflix main. Below the header, we are adding Netflix main, and you can see the Netflix main is there. But color is not satisfying. What we will do? We will go to the Netflix main CSS. And in Netflix main CSS, yeah, here we will write main. For main, I will give text align to center. And I will give font family Arial, and I will give color as white. Like this I am adding, and you can see it will be like this. We are having that, and we can also give something like margin top as 200 pixel. Then it will shift little down. And I will give some margin top as 150 pixel, then it will be in this way. Right? I will just keep 100 pixel. It is in this way because register have to come. And you can change lot of things. We can bold. then it will have bold. But for that actually we need to remove the heading styles, huh? Because ready-made heading styles are there now. Ready-made heading styles will be applied to that. It's okay. Let's keep it one more here. I will not change this. We'll keep the same. We can give bold. Actually, it can have width as 500 pixels. You can see the width like this, it will come. We can adjust the width accordingly. So you can put, suppose, 600 pixels width, then it will display like this. You can keep center, you can keep anywhere you want, you can configure it. That requires your complete HTML, CSS knowledge, right? I will just keep like this. Now under this what we need? Register now. Under this we need a register component. Let's go and register, create the register component. Where is it? So Netflix register component.html. In this register component, we have to create a registration form. I will create a div, and in the registration form, they have a paragraph. I will put that paragraph. What paragraph? They have a paragraph like this, ready to watch. And I will keep that paragraph here. Okay, ready to watch. Under that paragraph, they have a one is input type is equal to email, and for that we have a class form control. Below it we have a button. The button is having a class called BTN and BTN danger. Button have a text called get started, and after that it have a icon. We can put BI chevron right. Chevron right. We can use that chevron right. And I want this as an input group. We have to use a class called what? Input group. And we will use input group LG. LG is large. And where do you want that register? Inside the main, below that heading. That means what I will do here, let's go to the main component now. In the main component, below these headings, what we will do is, we will access that app Netflix register. Am I right? Inside the main, that will be accessed. Now you can see that this is the Netflix register inside it. Width, height, depending on your requirement, how much you want to do. That means how much you need to configure that Netflix register component. Here we have div. Here we will put a class called W50. W50 is nothing but width 50. Right? We can keep this center, but in order to keep the center, you have to align it correctly in the main component. Where is the main component? This is the main component. Here we have to keep it correctly. That means actually here we have to keep a div. And in this div, we have to use the option class dflex, display flex. We have justify content center. We have align items center. These are the options used to keep center. By using those options, we can keep that in the center. Right? And when you are keeping the center, now you should not define the width for it, right? That means you can change the width. Where is it? So Netflix, which page? Index page. You see, this is the header and this is the main. And let's go to the main page. In the main page, you have options like this to define. Now, technically, if you want to adjust the height and width of this, you can configure. Because I am just giving display flex, justify content, align items, depending on the content width, it will adjust. Actually, the width is generally, we give suppose width as W100. W100 means it will fit the component. But we need to fit the main component, understood? The main component it has to fit. Accordingly, we can use. You can do one thing. You can just remove here and we can keep under the main component here. See, under this main area, you can keep like this. But when you keep like this, the content will not be available outside. But as per the design, it should be inside which component? As per the design, it should be inside this. And actually, this entire container should be in the center. Understood? That entire container should be in the center. How to keep that entire container center? This is the main. To keep everything in center, we have to just put that in one div. After keeping that in the div, what you have to do is, you go to the CSS file. Where is the Netflix main.css file? Here, this is the CSS file. And here we have to define display, right? That is the appearance. It is saying text center. Now remove the text center. Then you can see it will be in this way. Now entire content you have to shift to center. For that, actually what we do is, we use the option as display and what? Flex. Display flex. After display flex, what we do? Justify content. Justify content to center. We will keep the content to center. So we have to keep the align items to center. Width also we can configure. Width, suppose I am giving 600 pixels. The main will have the pixels like this. If I don't give the width, then it will adjust accordingly and it will keep in this way. Now what we have to do, all this we have to keep in center now. That means individually we have to manage them in the main component. In the main component, what we can have a class called what? Text center. That means it will keep that in the center. The second heading also we can have what? Text center. That means it will keep it in center. This paragraph also, what it can be, this is having this cannot have text center easily because that is the paragraph edges, right? We have to adjust this container in the center. Then you can keep that alignment and place it. This is generally done with all CSS effects. You can use general CSS or you can use bootstrap classes, right? Let's adjust the width for this. How much width we want? According to heading now, let's do one thing. So this is the div. Outside it, it is having side by side because we kept it as what? Display flex. Where is the main component? We will remove display flex. It will be in this way. We have to keep this header component register. Where is the register? Netflix register. We will change the width because we given only 50% now. It will be in this way. After that, what we can give, it is kept in which container? Main. In the main container, we can put here style. Suppose width for this I will give as 600 pixels is actually half. And we will give margin. Where is it? Margin left actually. Margin left, suppose 400 pixel. It will be how much? 300 pixel. It can keep the option like this. See, we can keep it as 250 pixel because I am not justifying, just I am keeping the content in this way. That's how we can arrange. All your CSS have to use. That means we are keeping the content and aligning the content and displaying in the center. We are using just our CSS knowledge here. And if I want to adjust little bit down, then we have to actually use margin top also. Margin top as some 50 pixel. Then usually it will be little down. That is from the top we are adjusting. These font styles you can change by removing the headings. If you remove the headings, you can put your own effects. Now here, what is the advantage of this now? The advantage of this is, if I want this register again somewhere, if I want that register again somewhere, then I don't need to redesign. What we have to do, one more time I want, then simply I can access app what Netflix register, anywhere you access it, then it will give you one more duplicate. That means without redesigning, we can just access and use it. Usually what we do is below the main, what we do here is remove. Below the main, we usually have a section. Below the main, we usually create a section. Actually, section is an HTML element. This section will have some style height as some 300 pixel. That means now some gap will come below. Understood? We will add so many other things below. So 400 or something, we will add some other things below. Right? As of now, I just given only this. And in this, what we do, we will use app, what is it? Netflix register. And you can see the register when will come again. We can use with a different width, different height, different options. Right? If you want, you can configure any number of times. You access it, it will come again. It will display. So that is the advantage of creating such components. That means we call these reusable components. Understood? These are the reusable components. Now in this, we created a multi-level hierarchy. That means in one component, another component. That means we designed this approach. So we have a index. In the index, we have header. In the header and main too. In the main, again, we are having Netflix. Application is starting with only one. Which one? Netflix index, right? That is how actually large scale websites are designed. Everything is not one component. We will have multiple components. Now you need to try this. Then you will get clarity on how to work with the components. I will upload this entire zip file. Okay. This Netflix folder zip file I will upload all the code documents. You can download and see the code what we have written here. Then once you are good with this, now we can go with another important, that is data binding in Angular. How to work with data binding in Angular. That we will see in tomorrow's session. Next, first you have to practice this, right? And here what you have seen, Angular is less, CSS Bootstrap is more. Angular is just adding components and calling them. Your design is important. You will feel difficulty, you will feel problems in designing. That is the problem. That is not Angular. That is all CSS, Bootstrap and HTML thing. You have to try this. Okay, try this. I will upload this code now. Tomorrow we will discuss more effective options, how to create, working with Angular. Okay, tomorrow you'll see.